For introduction, in economics, two key concepts help us understand how individuals and firms make decisions: consumer behavior and economic distribution. Consumer behavior refers to how individuals decide to buy, use, and dispose of goods and services, influenced by income, preference, and utility. This choice shapes market demand. This report focuses on individual demand, which is the demand from a single consumer. For example, some people prefer using service like Foodpanda, while others choose to cook at home. These behaviors reflect real-life decision-making in a Malaysian economy. Economic distribution examines how income and resources are shared in society, including wage, rent, interest, and profits. It is important as it affects purchasing power, productivity, and economic fairness. By understanding both concepts, we can see how resources are efficiently managed and allocated within Malaysian microeconomic context.
Theory of consumer behavior. First, we have total utility. Total utility is the total satisfaction a person gets from consuming goods or services. It increases as more units are consumed, but grows more slowly due to diminishing marginal utility. Eventually, it reaches a maximum point and may decrease if consumption continues. Next, we have marginal utility. Marginal utility is the additional satisfaction a person receives from consuming one or more units of a goods or service. As more units are consumed, the marginal utility typically decreases. This is explained by the law of diminishing marginal utility, which means that each extra unit provides less benefit than the one before. This concept helps consumers decide how much to consume based on the extra value each unit gives.
Next, law of diminishing marginal utility. Law of diminishing marginal utility states that utility gains for consumer from successive units of a particular product diminishes as total consumption of the product, while consumption of all other products remain constant. There are several assumptions of law of diminishing marginal utility. There are rational consumer, suitable quantity, measurable utility, no change in fashion or custom, constant consumer taste and preference, continuous consumption, constant quality and quantity of units, and no change in price or availability of substitute. Okay, then relationship between total utility and marginal utility with real life experience. For the relationship, first, when marginal utility decrease, the total utility increase at diminishing rate. Then, when marginal utility is zero, the total utility is at maximum. And lastly, when marginal utility is negative, the total utility is declining. We can relate it with our real life experience, like watching movie. When we watch the movie for constant, like for the first movie, it will be very entertaining and enjoy. We can enjoy it for the fullest. Then on the second movie, it's still, but your attention starts to drop. On the third movie, you will start to feel tired or bored. Then on the fourth movie, you are no longer focused and may even fall asleep. So this satisfaction from each additional movie decrease because your mind and body get tired. This shows diminishing marginal utility.
Consumer equilibrium. First, cardinal approach. The cardinal approach to utility assumes that satisfaction from consuming goods can be measured in exact numbering value like utils. This means we can say one good gives twice as much satisfaction as another. It treats utility as something measurable and quantifiable. Next, ordinal approach. The ordinal approach assumes that consumers can rank their preference, but cannot measure that exact amount of satisfaction. Instead of Knowing how much they like one good, consumer only know which good they prefer more or less. It focuses on the order of preference, not the exact number. Next, budget line. A budget line shows the combination of two goods a consumer can buy with a fixed income and given prices. It represents the trade-off between the goods and helps consumers understand their spending limits and make choice between their budget. Equilibrium. Consumer equilibrium occurs when a consumer allocates their income to buy different goods in such a way that their total satisfaction is maximized. At this point, the consumer gets the most happiness or utility from their spending, given their budget constraint. This happens when the marginal utility per dollar spent on each good is equal. In other words, the extra satisfaction gained from spending $1 more on any good is the same for all goods. If this balance is achieved, the consumer has no incentive to change their spending because it's most efficient way to use their money.
Second is theory of economic distribution, which is referred to monetary payment made to an employee by an employer in exchange for labor. Is calculated based on hours worked. Okay, there are two types of wage. First is nominal wage. Is the wage is current money terms. It does not consider inflation. For example, if your payslip show 2,000 ringgit, that's your nominal wage. Second is real wage is adjusted for inflation. It shows the true value of your income, what you can actually buy with your wage. So even if your nominal wage stays the same, your real wage may decrease if prices go up. There is formula to calculate real wage. Your wage is equals to nominal wage divide price level. This helps us understand the purchasing power of our income, not just the amount of paper. Next is wage determination in perfect competition, which are determined at the intersection point of the labor demand and labor supply curves. This occurs in a perfectly competitive market. Demand for labor is known as derived demand. It depends on the demand for the final goods and services that labor has produced. Labor is demanded by firms to produce goods and services in the economy. These demands come from firms and based on marginal revenue product. The extra revenue earned from hiring one more worker, assuming other inputs stay constant. The formula for the demand for labor is based on the marginal revenue product. Supply of labor refers to the total number of workers who are willing and able to offer their services at various wage rates within a given period. There are perspective of labor supply. First is supply of labor in perfect market. Perfectly elastic supply or horizontal line. This means workers are willing to work at the existing market, which regardless of how many are hired. Firms are wage takers, they cannot set their own wage rates. If a firm offers lower wage, workers will simply move to other firms that pay the market rate, so the wage rate stay constant and uniform across the market. Second is the supply of labor to an industry is upward sloping, showing a positive relationship between wage rate and labor supply. As wage increase, more people are willing to work in that industry. Higher wage acts as a financial incentive and help compensate for opportunity costs like leisure or other job options.
Third is supply of labor for the entire economy. The labor supply for the entire economy forms a backward bending supply curve. It is influenced by factors such as health, leisure time, and individual preference. In the early stage, an increase in the wage rate will lead to a higher labor supply. But beyond a certain point, workers may choose more leisure time and reduce their labor supply even if wage continue to rise.
Next is equilibrium, which is determined by the interaction between labor demand and labor supply. The equilibrium wage rate is set where labor demand equals Labour supply. At this point, there is no surplus or shortage of labour. The labour demand curve is downward sloping. It means higher wage reduce the quantity of labour demand. The labour supply curve is upward sloping. It leads to the higher wage attract more workers. So there a negative relationship between wage and demand and a positive relationship between wage and supply. Okay. Last is profit maximization. Definition is a firm maximize profit by comparing marginal revenue product and marginal wage cost. MRP is additional revenue generated from employing one more workers. MWC is additional cost incurred from hiring one more workers. Formula to calculate the marginal wage cost is MWC equals to change in wage rate divided by change in labour. Equilibrium is achieved when MRP equals to MWC, indicating the optimal wage rate and quantity of labour. The intersection point of MRP and MWC represent the profit maximizing condition.
Rent can be defined as the reward for fixed supply of land and its most productive perspective. It also refers to the payment for the hire of goods and services. Thus, based on David Ricardo's law of rent, it stated that rent is a portion of earth which is paid to the landlord for the use of original and indestructible power of soil. However, we have modern theories that was first developed by J.S. Mill and it was stated that rent is earned due to the scarcity of land and difference in demand and the idea of apply rent to all the factors of production. Now, the determination of rent divided into two parts. First, general concept of rent and economic rent. General concept of rent is set by demand and supply of production factors. The demand is derived, whereas it is indirectly used to make goods and it falls when rent rises, whereas supply tends to increase as rent rises due to alternative uses. Economic rent, we have three parts. First, perfectly elastic supply. The supply curve is horizontal, where total earnings equal to transfer earning, so there is no economic rent, and rent must match the alternative use of the factor will be transferred. The second one is an elastic supply. The supply curve is vertical, where all earnings are economic rent, as transfer earning are zero and all payment are considered surplus. And last one is upward sloping supply. Upward sloping supply is where supply curve is upward sloping, where one portion of total income is from economic rent and the other is from transfer earning, and economic rent arises in the sense of surplus. Now we move to profit. That is also divided into two parts, normal profit and economic profit. Normal profit can be categorized as accounting profit, which is the difference between the purchase price and the cost. Normal profit occur in perfectly competitive markets. It's also the profit that firm earns in the long run. Meanwhile, economic profit make more profit than normal profit. Thus, it earned when total revenue is greater than total cost. It keeps the entrepreneur providing their skill and taking risks. By definition, the difference between revenue from output sold and the opportunity cost of input used in production and known as economic aided. While the breaking down, economic profit is not the same as accounting profit and is calculated by deducting opportunity cost from revenue. Opportunity cost means the income or return sacrificed from the next best alternative that was not chosen.
Okay, for interest, the capital market helps businesses grow by making it easier to buy and sell shares and bonds. This lets companies raise money and investors earn returns. It also spreads financial risk and connects local businesses with global investors, which helps the economy grow. Governments can support fair and strong capital markets by creating small policies. These include rules that protect consumers, reduce income gaps, and make sure more people can access financial service. This helps everyone benefit from the market, not just the rich.
Okay, so this is policy recommendation, government policy or economic strategies that can improve consumer welfare and income distribution. Provision of subsidies. The government provides subsidies for essential goods like cooking, oil, petrol and rice to reduce prices and increase consumer purchasing power, especially for low-income groups. Next is progressive tax system. Higher taxes are imposed on high-income earners. The tax revenue is used for free education, cash assistance like STR, and welfare programs. This helps reduce the income gap and improves the standard of living for the poor.
Now, move to ways to enhance wage fairness, regulate rent, and optimize profit distribution. Ways to enhance wage fairness, the government can implement income policies that ensure wages do not rise faster than workers' productivity. This helps ensure that wage increases are fair and sustainable to avoid wage push inflation. In addition, trade unions should not demand wage increases that exceed productivity growth in order to maintain income balance in the economy. To regulate rent, the government can implement price control mechanisms such as getting a maximum rental ceiling. Furthermore, the government can also apply price pegging in order to maintain stable and affordable price for tenants. And the last one is to optimize profit distribution. Companies can share profits with employees. In addition, they can provide bonuses to employees who work hard and help increase the company's productivity. This will help motivate employees to work better with the company, which can indirectly increase the company's profit. Moreover, it is considered fair because employees also contribute to generating the company's income.
Alright, the last one, provide real-world examples of successful policies. For Malaysian, subsidies for basic necessities. The Malaysian government provides subsidies for essential goods like cooking oil, petrol and rice. For Japan, profit sharing with employees. Many Japanese companies implement profit sharing models where employees receive bonuses based on company performance. And the last one is India. Solar power expansion. India rapidly expanded solar energy production, reducing reliance on fossil fuels and promoting sustainable energy.
Okay. To conclude, understanding consumer behavior helps explain how people make spending choices and how this affects the economy. All of these refer to total utility, marginal utility, law of diminishing marginal utility, and consumer equilibrium. Wages, rent, profit, and interest are key rewards in the economy, and fair distribution of this is important. Government policies like subsidies, fair taxes, and wage rules can reduce inequality. Confident consumers boost the economy through spending, while uncertainty slows it down. Moving forward, using technology, promoting financial literacy, and improving skills can create a stronger and fair economy for everyone.